Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Baki Sukhale and I am back with yet another true crime case. Let's dive right into it. Now today we'll be discussing the case of Dr. Bantu Noqekwa, who was born on the 14th of February in the year 1966 in the Eastern Cape. Now, just as a disclaimer, this case is still undergoing trial, and so everything that will be stated is still alleged and has not been proven yet or tested in an official court. Now, Dr. Bantu was one of three boys, and he was described as someone who was very humble as well as very smart. Education played a very big role in his life, and he attended CSC primary school in PE. He then completed his high schooling in Mthatha. He then moved to Gauteng to complete a medical degree at the Sefako Makgatho University, which is previously known as Medunsa, and he then completed this qualification in the year 1996. For his internship, he then decided to move back to his hometown in PE, and this is where he served a year at the Livingstone Hospital. Now, while Dr. Bantu was at Livingstone Hospital, this is where he met a young woman who goes by the name of Ethel Mpahlwa, who was a businesswoman at the time. Now, Dr. Bantu and Ethel kicked it right off, and soon after that had started a romantic relationship. And in the year 1998, this is when Dr. Bantu then decided to open his own medical practice, and he did this where it is that he grew up, just as a way to give back to his community, because he believed a lot in community development. And in the year 2000, he then got married to Ethel. 2 years later, they then welcomed their first baby boy, who went by the name of Khanyisa. Now, the couple then went on to have 2 more sons. However, apparently, as the marriage continued to go on, it then started to fall apart, as it is alleged that Ethel had a gambling problem. Soon after that, co-parenting also then became a challenge, as Ethel would apparently, oftentimes threaten violence towards Dr. Bantu. However, Dr. Bantu just made it a point to be there for his children, to be a present father, even though him and their mother were no longer in a relationship, and the boys were residing with their moms, so he would make it a point to see them as often as he could. Now, Ethel on one occasion then decided to tell her oldest son, Khanyisa, that his father, Dr. Bantu, was actually plotting to end her life. And so she doesn't really say or, state where she found this information out, that, he was plotting to get her killed or anything like that. And she also decided to not go to the police about this. Now, upon Khanyisa hearing this information, he then decided to respond and tell his mother that, okay, if it is that Dr. Bantu is planning to end your life, I then suggest that we should actually get to him before it is that he gets to you. And this is actually when Khanyisa and Ethel then decided to come up with a plan. Ethel was then able to get 4 men who would carry out a hit to end Dr. Bantu's life, and the youngest of the 4 men was a 19-year-old boy. Now, she then met up with the men, and the plan was then discussed, and she had told them that they would receive 500,000 upon completion of the hit. They then also did require 6,000 rands, and that 6,000 would basically just help them get any material or anything that it is that they would need to carry out the hit. And it was then decided that the hit would take place at his private practice and would happen during office hours. Now, on the 3rd of May in the year 2023 at around 7 p.m., this actually isn't really strange as well for private practices, especially that are in townships, because usually those doctors will practice until very late hours. And so at around 7 p.m, the 4 men then made their way into the practice. They then allegedly tied Dr. Bantu to the practice bed and then fired shots into him, and they also then left with the CCTV footage as well as the cameras. Now, nobody else was injured at the practice during the time of the hit, and a few minutes later, it is alleged that Ethel then contacted her son Khanyisa to let him know that the hit was a success and that his father was no more. Now, Dr. Bantu's family, friends, his community, as well as his colleagues were definitely devastated by the news of his passing, and they too were also enraged. Now, after the hit was completed, Ethel, as well as the four men, was spotted at a KFC, and this is where allegedly they discussed how it is that everything went, and also conversations about compensation then took place. Ethel, however, did state that the compensation would not be paid out immediately, as they would have to wait for the payouts from Dr. Bantu's death to be paid out to the children, or whatever money that she would be receiving from his death. And this is the money that would then pay for the hit. And she also was allegedly, or had allegedly stated, that Dr. Bantu would then be the one to then pay for his own death. Now, on that same day, Ethel then decided to give the four men 1,000 rand, and the 1,000 rand was allegedly given to them so that they can go to get a spiritual cleansing. Now, 2 weeks later, Dr. Bantu was then laid to rest, and his son Khanyisa as well also had given a speech. Now, also do bear in mind that at the time that the speech was given, there were no leads. They didn't know who it was that could have done it, and no one knew about Khanyisa and his mother's involvement in Dr. Bantu's death.
Hello, okay. Igama lami nguKhanyisa Bantu Noqekwa. Ningu firstborn kaBantu ne. Okay, so omni bam bayakhumshaba, so nizobeka nge-English mos. Okay. Tatang Bantu was a people person. We know this. He was quite the man, and if I can explain it better, he was a person that made sure you get the thing done correctly. If you don't get it done correctly, find a way to get it done correctly, but don't leave it. He was an efficient man, and he made sure that he'd raise us to be efficient men. And be quiet about it, because it's not speaking about it that gets things done. It's actually doing it that gets things done. It was different from most Xhosa men. He didn't disclose what happens. He didn't talk to people about everything, but you could see when he's going through something. For example, when Makulu went, I asked how he felt, because he was quiet afterwards. But, you could just see. Otherwise, as hard as it is to say, may he rest in peace. He was quite the dad. He was quite the man to look up to. And I'm glad that I can stand in front of his community, all his friends, colleagues, my family, and everybody else, and just say that I can see how many people he made happy every day. I can see that every day he leave the house, specifically around 11, and he gets back either 8, if not 8, and it's late. Maybe he had a lot of patience. Comes back latest 11 at night. That these are all the people that he'd helped. These are all the people he'd deal with or speak to or attend to. And whenever he'd order medicines, every single first of the month at the beginning, and then again the first the next month, that these are the people he'd be attending to. It was nice to meet all of you. I'm glad to come up and speak in front of all of you on behalf of my dad and my family and my brothers. And that I'm glad to see how many people he touched every single day, and how many people trusted him and went to him specifically, not just for being a doctor, but being a confidant. And even the words that were said, everything. It's just really good to see that he did so much while saying so little. But yeah, and with that being said, I just know to always remember that it's not what you talk about, it's what you do. And it's not just what you do, it's how it affects others. This is what today has taught me as well, probably. But yeah.
Now, a few weeks went by and the investigation was still underway. This is then when allegedly Khanyisa had a guilty conscience, and he then decided to go to the police and to confess. Khanyisa then told the police everything, and he told them about the involvement that his mother had as well in the hit. And at this point, Ethel was actually in Cape Town. Ethel was then arrested in Cape Town and brought back to PE, and police were also able to get the surveillance from the KFC that shows Ethel meeting up with the 4 gentlemen. Now, Khanyisa would not be charged, and instead he would be a state witness that would help testify against his mother. His mother did, however, apply for bail. However, it was denied as the state had feared that she would be able to get to Khanyisa and probably persuade him or influence him to withdraw his statement. Now, Khanyisa had stated that she has no reason to flee the country as she is a businesswoman and also is the caretaker for her children. Now, 2 of the 4 men at the time of me making this video, which is November 2023, 2 of the 4 men have been arrested and have abandoned bail, and this is still an ongoing case. Now, it is that at the time that this video may be released that there have been developments in the case, but as I've said, at the time of recording, which is November 2023, this is as much information as we know, and that is the case of Dr. Bantu. Let me know what it is that you think, guys, about Khanyisa not being charged and him just being a state witness, and let me know what other cases you'd like for me to cover. I'll see you next time. Stay kind. Bye.